Hey.
Hey, hey. Everybody, I would like to introduce you a very handsome, very talented, sexy individual with great hair.
So, hey, man, you've got good hair too. It's just underneath.
Yeah, it just grows everywhere except on my head. He is a musician. He's a singer-songwriter. He's an actor as well, doing podcasts. You name it, Mr. Rob Jones is currently doing it. Possibly your mum as well, but we'll just keep that between them.
Those days are behind me, man.
Oh, so many lonely mums just longing for the glory days.
If you're out there, leave a comment, ladies. We'll rekindle.
Indeed. So, dear boy, how the hell are you?
I'm not too bad, mate. Are you good?
I am not bad. Fair to middling in this wonderful current situation.
It's weird, isn't it?
It is.
It's so weird. I mean, you're sitting there in your studio. I'm sitting here in mine, and really, we should be out at a gig somewhere making some noise, but we're not. What's going on?
The question is, are your trousers as sexy as mine?
I think you've definitely won. I mean, mine are just a little bit ripped because I'm in a band, so you're allowed to have one ripped knee.
Ah, good man. Keeping the dream alive.
That's it. Rebel. But yeah, no one's going to compete with them trousers, mate.
No, my sister gave them to me.
They look really comfortable as well. There's plenty of room to could have sweaty balls in there and stuff.
Oh yeah, everything can dangle around and no stickiness, no nothing. It's great.
So see, with these, they're a little on the tighter side, so everything's kind of packed into that centre space. You know, so not much freedom. But I'm used to it.
Goods off. That's the whole point.
Well, I mean, again, it's not much to offer up really. It's just this general area. But you've got license to be left all right in those trousers. I'm just hard centre.
Oh, good man.
Excuse the pun.
Right. So, I think we should start off. So people will probably know you for Missing Andy as one of your big main endeavours.
I would imagine that's probably the widest awareness of myself, yeah. But I mean, I've been in music like my whole life, really. Like, sure we're going to get into that, but the long story cut short was, lots of nearly got theirs and lots of learning curves along the way, which sort of paved its way to being Missing Andy. I mean, it's a much longer story and much more interesting the story than that. But yeah, Missing Andy was kind of the pinnacle, if you like. I mean, there were still lots of issues that we can get into that kind of slowed things down or got in the way of it. But we always had, and I've always had the attitude of, well, if you're in the way, get out of the way, or I'll find a way around you. Or, I've always been that kind of go-get-it person. And yeah, in the more recent days, I guess the same attitude has kind of opened up other doors. But whatever I've been involved in, I've always sort of given it everything. I believe I've seen so many musicians who were or are amazing, and they've not, they've just kind of let it fizzle out, or they've had a few knocks and that's hurt them too much and they've left it behind. And I think nothing's easy. I mean, it's obviously there are some people that have had it easy, but yeah, I just couldn't imagine doing anything else. I mean, I have lots of creative areas. Music's not the only thing, as we said, but I think I'd be a very miserable man if I wasn't doing, or at least trying to do, the things I love doing and settling for something else.
Right, perfect segue into where did Rob's love of music come from? Let's go back in time. Right, so we're a young Rob. What age are we when we discover that music is the thing we love?
6 years old.
Wow.
So basically, I've got my older brother to thank, Dan. So he joined the local marching band, which was called Braintree Dimensions at the time.
Wow.
And if you're from Braintree, you'd probably see him marching down the street at Braintree Carnival, getting 2p's thrown at him and stuff like that. But basically, that's where I kind of started my musical journey. So I joined the band just because he did. Tried my hand at trumpet for about 6 weeks, hated it, but then found the drums. And get to hit stuff. It's loads of noise. It's super fun and stuff. And sort of that in tandem with always playing mum and dad's records at home. And they had a really good sort of wide selection, everything is from like bloody Chaz and Dave right over to like, I don't know, Queen or like Dire Straits, and I guess that's my kind of early rock influences, definitely from them. But also my sister, like she had loads of like Motown and soul and funk, and I just had a bit of everything going on. So I was, and when you're that young, you just pick things up so quick. And just being around that kind of brass orchestra type environment, I sort of learned really quickly about music itself, like in the arrangement form and textures, and appreciating music perhaps that I wouldn't have if I'd have just been a generic guy, whatever. But and yeah, so it's from then that I knew, found out I could be a musician, but then I just absorbed everything really fast, and through hearing music, I sort of picked up an ear for music, started singing things at home, and then I think it was about when I was only about 7 years old, and then one of the sort of social things we had with the marching band ended up being like a karaoke night or something. I remember getting thrust up there to sing bloody Bohemian Rhapsody as like a 7-year-old, and obviously like it was probably terrible, but it gave me that fucking hell, I like this is for me, like that cheer that you get when you're 7 years old or whatever. This is for me, and so yeah. By the time by the time I was about 13, 14, I started actually teaching the drums at this band and stuff, because everyone I'd basically caught up with it, and yeah, it was a hell of a lifeline. I mean, I had a terrible time through school and stuff, so knowing I had that to do after school was just like the best shit ever, and it just made me want it even more. And then I guess from about the age of 13, 14 upwards, really, as a bit of a lifeline, but that's when I started being attracted more to the other elements, the live music scene and that sort of stuff. And so I joined some like early pub bands and stuff when I was like a lot younger, playing drums for like older bands and stuff.
Yeah.
But then just wanted my own thing, like original stuff, and through frustration of not being able to get a whole band together, I'm like, right, well, I know drummers because I've taught them, so I'm going to learn to play guitar. So because I don't know anyone else, so I'm going to learn that. Yeah. And then long story cut short, so I taught myself guitar just listening to tunes with like one string on an old shitty Argos thing and just earing it in, sort of thing. And then yeah, right, let's get a band together. We can't find a bass player. We've got a guitarist. Oh, fuck, right, I'll learn to do that then. So
this story sounds really familiar.
yeah. So you're the same. So like, you just ended up fucking learning everything like really young. And I'm not saying I'm a virtuoso in any of those things. I guess jack of all, master of none. I mean, I like to think I'm of a good standard on them. But so yeah, so I was quite lucky, really. So from like, through bad times, it's actually brought out some really good shit. And so by like 14, 15, I can play it all, like right down to piano and stuff like that. So I'm hungry now. Do you know what I mean? And it was around that sort of time. I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of school because it was horrible. Yeah. Get into college. So by the time I got into college, obviously all the bad shit ended, and I was around like-minded people now. And then the rest is kind of history. So, I mean, there was a real tragic event with the guitarist in my band. I don't know if you remember Feckless those days.
Oh, blimey, God. Yeah, I was trying to remember actually some of the early stuff you were in, but yeah, I do remember them. Yeah,
so that was one of the early bands. But Toby Delderfield, our guitarist, he got hit by a car and died. And it was a kind of... I mean, I was always kind of frustrated in the band anyway, because it's like, we're watching all these other pub bands at the time, thinking, fucking hell, they're so much better than us. What's going on? And it took a bit of a tragedy like that to go, right, fucking life's precious, man. So I was about 18 by then, so I was then hitting like the audition scenes and going into London and just trying out for bands, and some of them ended up, I was nearly busted and things like that. Obviously you don't know that they're going to be busted at the time, but like getting down to the last like 3 or 4 people to be in this thing that's signed to Universal and those sorts of things. And yeah, so like it was around all those sort of times I was learning my kind of strong jaw, if you like, all the no's and all the knockbacks. And I was about 19 or 20 when I got signed to my first management. And that was Amanda Holden's husband, a guy called Chris Hughes.
Okay.
And so I was put through a few projects with some. I mean, you could call it manufactured, I guess, but it was put together actual musicians, I guess, to put forward to like pop music stuff. But the good news about it was I was thrust into some really classy studios, like Air Studios, with some really good producers, and sort of, you know, albeit pop music, I was starting to learn a bit of a craft with my own writing as well. Because until then, I was writing things about toast or fucking stupid stuff, you know, with Feckless, and this was started to sort of open up a bit more of a kind of pop market approach. And so I'm going to cut this bit of the story short because I've been waffling on for ages.
No,
but
you have time.
We had a few various setups within this management that I was playing for. Like I was in a band with a couple of brothers and stuff, called Wired, which then got called Stag, and then that got called Original Cast and stuff like that.
God, so I remember those.
Yeah. So and we nearly had a big one with that. Like we were in a battle with Warner Brothers and Sony, I think it was, to sign us at the time. And this was this was just about the time when downloads were sort of happening, but it was still very much a record market. And so obviously there was big money in the deals then, or bigger money. And it was 1 week, right? So Warner offering $250,000. Oh, fucking hell! All right, and then next week Sony have come back. It's $500,000. We're like, fuck. And then obviously it's gone back and forth. It got to like £750,000 or something like that. This is just an advance, by the way. This is like, here's some money, have a nice day, sort of whatever. And we're like, fuck. So I'm like rubbing my hands together, like opening bank accounts, thinking it's all going to come in. And then the next fucking week, it all went out the window because little Chris just did Rock School, so they signed him instead, and stuff like that. So and that kind of ended that band. I mean, we'd had a few other sort of near misses and stuff, but basically off the back of that, because there was chemistry there, but it didn't. It felt more like we've been put here rather than. And don't go, the songs were really good and everything else, but there was just something that wasn't quite connective in the tissue. But anyway, so all the sort of with the producers and some of the people we'd met along the way, one of them being Nicky Cook, who was managing Missing Andy for most of it. So the sort of band members, so by this point, which were now Steve Rolls, Elliot on drums and stuff like that, all people I brought in from first getting signed to this management and stuff. Right, well, we know all the pitfalls of the industry. We know how to write a tune. Like we've got access to some good shit, and you know we've worked hard. We're tight. You know we've done some stuff already, and that was basically the early stages of Missing Andy. So me and Steve used to go back to Brentford College all the time after we'd left and like play session work in all the shows and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And that's where we got to see Alex for the first time. So he was this smelly 18-year-old beatboxer, spotty kid.
I remember him from the days of
Hogs.
The Hogs, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the first experience we had of him. But we thought he was doing his beatboxing thing. We thought that's the fucking bollocks, man. That'd be great to sort of incorporate that. So we auditioned him to be in it. He never really sang at the time. He was more of a kind of spoken word, you know, made in England type songs, you know. But yeah, then we found out he's actually a really good singer as well. So it was early stages for him, obviously discovering himself. But so that was the real early fabric of Missing Andy. And then it's having all that experience behind the rest of us and what to avoid and all that sort of stuff. We quite quickly in Missing Andy started making some noise. And again, the downloads were happening and stuff, but this was still a time where you do well at a venue and you get offered a better slot, and then more people start turning up, and those sort of days. And and it was we played every fucking toilet in the country, but we were making some noise. We got invited to go out to do South by Southwest and stuff like that, all unsigned. And then the TV show stuff popped up. So like producers were asking venues and stuff, what bands should we look out for? And obviously Missing Andy were making some traction, and we was approached to do it. And first of all, we was like, what, reality TV? Fuck off. But then when they kind of pitched it to us a bit more that, we're trying to break the mold of reality TV. This is original bands playing their own music. They keep all the money. We don't take anything from it. Like anything you sell on the show, like all the hits, whatever you make is yours 100%. So when you dangled that kind of carrot, it was like, fuck it, what's to lose, because if we don't do it, we're going to kick ourselves. If we do it, who's to know what's going to happen? But we kind of stayed honest with each other that we're not going to do all the fucking gay stuff, like smile at the camera and do the turnaround and all that stuff. We're just going to do the music. So we were quite hard to work with, because they wanted to make a TV show with all the sparkles and stuff, and we were just trying to be like, yeah, just one word answers and stuff like that. But yeah, and then just letting the music do the talking, and we ended up coming second in it. And off the back of it, obviously we played Wembley and things like that in the final. And it was off the back of all the TV exposure that obviously bought the largest chunk of the fan base.
Yeah.
And obviously off the back of the show, all the people bought the songs, and we had a couple of weeks in the charts and made a bit of money, and then got signed after that, and then had money to make an album, and then so on and so forth. And eventually made enough money in that sort of short space of time to put the records out ourselves.
Excellent.
And that's kind of where it is now. So like we got signed, and we had a house bought for us, and we all sort of moved in together in Chelmsford for a few years, and had a sort of a whole tour around Europe, and we did some America and the whole UK tour as well.
Yeah.
And things were going really, really well. And but all good things. So that was kind of like this is it. It's all happening. Like people were shouting at you down a random street in a different town that they know and stuff like that. There was some people singing your songs that you'd written in your bedroom, and now they're like fucking they know all the lyrics, and people's parents and their kids and their grandparents wanting to fucking sign a T-shirt. It was a real kind of like whoa time, and like a humble time, and it was going right back to the beginning of the story, is that it was that kind of, well, this is what I wanted, and this is kind of what's happening at the minute. But the pitfalls of the band are that because of doing a show like that, that all the kind of tastemakers and your Radio 1s and stuff like that, it's all closed doors. So they legally played us when we was in the charts, because obviously it's part of the chart show. And you think if you're in the charts, well, you're going to get weekly plays for a few weeks at least. But no, just that one time. And it was quickly like, and at number 25, this is Mr. Nanny, played the song, thank you, Mr. Nanny. And that was it. Like no sort of like help or support. Because obviously, and what I did find out later was that people who work for Simon Cowell in Psycho Records had actually gone to Radio 1 and said, if you hype up anyone off this show too much, we're going to take X Factor exclusive to a Capital FM. So it's almost like well, Mr. Nanny aren't worth my job, so bullshit. So even though we'd had a sort of huge bit of exposure and some chart success, it really didn't do anything. A lot of magazines wouldn't go near us. Like we get and we still get quite a lot of regional radio, but I think that's because they're more fans than because they have to. I mean, they're more supportive that way. But certainly any national stuff is a big no. But we played with some huge acts on tour, and still got really good booking agents and stuff behind us, because they know we have a fan base that are going to turn up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was unfortunately that sort of stuff that has really slowed down Missing Andy in the last few years. I mean, a lot of people who know the band would notice that it's been like 4 or 5 years since we've had a release. I mean, we've still gigged and we still tour and stuff, but obviously not heavy touring because there's not a new thing to tour. But we've just kind of stayed match fit really. But and the reason being is because financially, after a while, it starts to catch up with you, and you can't, you might have it's all right if you've got a run of gigs, but when you have a few months off, what other revenue streams are coming in, and unfortunately because of all the radio stuff where we're locked out of a lot of it and the exposure side of it, so people do start to forget who you are if you're not in the public eye.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about gigs, I'm on about further than that your fans know.
Yeah.
So obviously that's when we all kind of started looking at other avenues. So where we earn pretty well from a gig, or from when we release something, it's still only sort of at that moment, so we all have to sort of look at other things. And I think that, going from sort of being signed and funded to now you've got to kind of scratch your own back again. Not that I'd call it a backstep, but it's obviously a slow down from the momentum, because obviously when we was living together, it's 5 guys in a house writing songs every day and just doing that every day. So the output's really heavy. So these days, obviously, when we've got to start looking after ourselves again, just the traction that we had has slowed down. I mean, the fans are still there in the fact that when we do have something new, which will be this year, by the way, hopefully they're going to find it. But is anyone going to play it other than the fans? Like, it's not, or a nice podcast. It's not gonna, certainly not going to get on the radio or anywhere big. So, but we're lucky to have what we've had and have what we have. We were so grateful that even now we can do a gig or a show and it will still like fill up. And I think that's our attitude now, is just to sort of service ourselves, service the fans and the people that still want to hear it, and to be really grateful that we had those chances. And it's, even though I've always wanted to get further, and then when I get somewhere I want the next thing, to say that I've had a hit, I've played at these things, I've done these things, and the kind of dream things that you always dream about as a kid. I've sort of checked a lot of the boxes off, and so now I'm sort of looking for the next thing, really. So Missing Andy is still happening. It's not going anywhere. We've said that we'll never kind of fold the band. It might stop for a while, or it might slow down, or it might be very few and far between shows or releases and stuff. But we've got a few new ones coming out this year. Obviously, even just getting them together and meeting up together is harder to do because everyone's schedules now.
Yeah.
But it's still very much happening, and I think a lot of people just assume you're dead because you're not on online all the time. But we're still there. But obviously, I'm not just going to sit back. So that's when all this kind of solo stuff started, and pushing the acting, which I loved at college as well, opening it up a bit more and presenting, and obviously just putting any time I've got left into things that I want to do as well, because I'm a very focused person. And at the time, Missing Andy was my 100% attention. And now if it's only 50, I've still got another 50 to put elsewhere. Yeah, so I've waffled on so much, man. I do apologise, but
no, it's all good. It's all good waffle. We like good waffle.
A lot of people, I think, like, the TV show was a bit of a hashtag sellout or fast track or whatever, but we were offered it based on the hard work we've done.
Yeah. And
obviously we wouldn't have chosen another show where you couldn't do your own music and all that stuff. So I think it was good to be part of a show that was only a one-off show anyway.
Yeah.
Like they didn't have it again, whether it was because they got shut down by something else, or the idea didn't work as well as they wanted. I don't know, but I think it's good for us that it was the only show, because once there's Must Be the Music 10, then obviously who the fuck remembers the guys that was on 1? Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
So a one-hit show wonder. Yeah, and it helped us and killed us at the same time. But no, it's for me, it's just one thing onto the next. So that's why I'm 37 now and thinking about doing a fucking solo career, which is probably a bit late. But again, I'm just doing it for me and my own therapy.
Thing as late.
But I'm realistic in the fact that I'm not trying to be a pop star doing a dance routine and shit like that. I'm just writing songs, and I'm really confusing as well, because I run a studio and I love all sorts of genres. I'm not sort of pigeonholed to one, so each of my releases has a different feel, a different genre, so I'm quite hard to pigeonhole. So if anyone was to be interested, they're going to be like, you're way too confusing. But I'm doing it for me, and if good stuff comes from it, brilliant. And that's what's been great about the songwriting, because I've been sort of pinched by a publisher to write songs for X and Y acts. 1 week it'll be, right, we need a song for this Korean boy band, and then next week it's, we need a song for this TV show. And basically you're always up against another like 30 odd writers, so for every 50 songs you write, you might get one, but obviously I love the challenge of just writing something new. And I've got a few interesting things coming up in the next month or two with quite a big household name that I've written a song for and feature on as well. So you never know. It could be the start of everything, or it could be the end of it if everyone hates it.
Well, we've got a few questions. Well, a couple of questions and a couple of small statements. So, friend Stuart asking about Saturday night stream. Possibly, Stuart, I will let you guys know. Our gig is being cancelled. So it's we might do a live stream. We don't know yet. Michelle Kirkwood says 7.5 years with a laughing face.
That was obviously the last time Missing Andy had a song out, so I stand corrected. So Michelle, bless her, she runs our street team. So obviously when we was active, there was obviously lots for her to do. There's not so much movement on the streets at the moment. But
I hope she wasn't relying on that for income these days.
But no, Michelle, she's brilliant. Like every band, if every band had a Michelle Kirkwood, like every band would be famous, because she was relentless. Like, she'd answer any comments we'd missed. She'd this was like the early days as well. Like, she'd like dangle things in front of. I mean, Facebook's changed now; it hides a lot of stuff. But this was back in the day where you could just invite all and annoy people, and be quite invasive. And like, she'd just be putting us everywhere. And she was on top of like just everything to do with the socials and that she was on. So thank you, Michelle. There will be new stuff for you too, Street Team, very soon.
We've got Chris Gibbs. Good old Chris. Hey,
see, Chris, here's an example of what I was talking about people who are the fucking bollocks and they should be somewhere else with their skills, and he's not doing music. Tut tut.
Chris. Ow, I just hit my finger on the mic and that quite hurt. Chris, sort yourself out, mate. Come on, get back out there. You've got a great voice. The world needs to hear it.
He does, and I remember him from the what was this? The Skinwalker, I think they were called. Yes, and what was the
Crazy 88 was the one.
That's right, Crazy 88. Yeah, fucking great voice. Like, just fucking use it. And you, John, and you, Priesty. Fucking, what are you doing? Stop selling them and start playing them.
That's a good bit of advice. He says, hey guys, Rob, it seems to me there's always a lot of advice suggesting artists should pick a genre and stick to it, but you experiment with a lot of different styles. In your experience, do you think an eclectic outlook is as much of a potential barrier as a majority of gurus would have us believe?
Okay, that's easy to answer. I mean, 100% I'm doing it the wrong way.
Yep.
In the eyes of the way that you should do it. I mean, my Nicky Cook, a good friend of mine, my ex-manager, he had a good point, that what you should do is have like a body of work. So if you're, I mean, I haven't done this, but kind of on purpose in a way, but by the book, really, if you're venturing out, you should have a body of work, say like an EP or an album that's within the same sort of genre or aesthetic or something like that. Because when you're pushing it and plugging it, you can concentrate in all those areas with those tastemakers, with those shows or wherever you're trying to get it heard or seen. And you obviously, by default, have more, you know, if it's all a rap album, you send it to those rap tastemakers and stuff like that, you know. But you know, the thing I disagree with is that if you do have a lot of strings to your bow, you know, which one do you pick first and stuff like that. But also, if you've got 5 awesome rap songs or whatever, and they listen to the 30 seconds of the first one and decide they don't like that one, but they missed the third and the fourth one because they didn't like the first one, you know. So what I'm doing is writing one in a different genre each time. I mean, arguably, I'm not putting loads of money into the PR. If I did, obviously, I'd send all the metal ideas to the metal people, all the rock ones over here, and so on and so forth. But I'm just kind of, for me, it's more of a songwriting and personal therapy flex, I guess. You know, and I'm not trying to. It's never for a look at me. I mean, I love it when people obviously listen to your stuff, but to be fair, even your own mates don't share anything, do they? So it's just like I put stuff out there to be found, and if you find it, brilliant. And but what I am doing is sending my individual songlets to sort of people within that thing, you know. So again, a lot of it falls on deaf ears. There's hundreds of people doing it every day, but you can Google blogs, you can Google radio stations, you know. Every town's got a radio station. So you know, most of them, I used to work on Time FM, and I really appreciated, you know, I run a new music show, and I appreciate when people send me a track. If they send me it, I'll put it on. Simple as that. I don't care of the quality or how good or bad society thinks it is. If you've got the guts to record it, I'll play it. Obviously there's parameters about swear words and things like that, but the way I did it, I always did it in order. So if you sent me a track, as soon as I've got through the pile and yours is next, you're on that show whatever day that is. And I kind of wish it was like that in a way, but anyway, I've just sort of gone off on a tangent there.
Okay,
but so with each genre, I've been sending, you know, the appropriate people each one. The only downside to it is if someone says, oh mate, that fucking rap song you did was the bollocks, I went to listen to your other stuff and it started screaming at me, I didn't like it, so I stopped listening. So obviously you can risk like making an impression of the wrong thing, but I'm making it as clear as I can that I'm doing this from a songwriter's stance. And I just love all music, so why should I do one thing? But if you want my advice on how to better market yourself, then I would suggest a body of work, and then sort of have that day, and then obviously next year do your rock album, and then next year do your other thing. But I've just kind of gone all at the same time.
Well, that's the problem, is it? I mean, you've got human beings, the creatures of habit. So the point is, you listen to any band, whether it's heavy metal bands, whether it's rock bands, as soon as they deviate even slightly from their kind of prescribed sound, there's uproar. Absolute uproar from the fan base. It's because you don't become an individual. You're not seen as a songwriter, a human being. You are seen as a commodity or a product. They're like, I want more of this product. I don't want anything else.
You got to think of it from the band's point of view. Like, how much must it do fucking Bon Jovi's head in that they have to play "Living on a Prayer" still every gig? Do you know what I mean? It's that sort of thing. And I think not that bands would start hating their own material, but it's not unheard of. You know, like Radiohead hate playing Creep and stuff like that. But I think, Mike, you don't strike me as someone who would say that kind of thing about a band changing direction. It might not be for you, but you'd still appreciate them wanting to do that, you know. So it is obviously a minority of people that dismiss a band, but then they're not going to then say, well, I now hate the stuff that I liked. They're always still going to like the early things that they did. They might not just buy into the new stuff, but then it's up to you if you want to evolve or not. I mean, some people would, you know, I'm sure they wouldn't deviate too far. I mean, I can't see Slipknot doing a dance pop album next. Do you know what I mean? They're gonna stay in a metal area, you know. And to be fair, the productions are getting cleverer now. You know, like even bands like Slipknot, if you listen to the really early stuff, like it's still wicked, but it's very raw and like one take and stuff like that. Whereas all the latest stuff, it's very like produced, isn't it? You know, it's like, and that's not a bad thing, but like that could be an argument to the Puritans, you know, oh no, it doesn't sound like the old shit, but you know, like, you've got to move with the times and the technology. I mean, Jesus, like the way I write songs and produce now, like, is way easier with the tech that you have than perhaps what I would have done 15 years ago, you know, trying to get it in one go in my dad's shed with a cassette tape and making sure that if I've got to record over the next cassette tape with that layer to get that layer, and I've got to get it right first time. So arguably, maybe I was a better musician all those years ago
I think we all
than now. But, you know, like it's I don't want to say speed to market because that's the wrong word, but it's, you know, why wouldn't you use these tools? And if you're getting bored of your sound, you know, why wouldn't you evolve it? And you never know, you might catch new fans that didn't like the old shit, and now they like the new stuff. So Bring Me the Horizon's a good example, I think. Like their early, like first album maybe, or second, I wasn't that impressed. Really.
Right.
Like, they were there, but it was kind of like it was that band trying to be the metal band in their first ever music venue sort of thing.
Yeah.
You know, and now like their productions are like super digital, but like super fucking huge, and like, you know, there's definitely a pop element to Bring Me the Horizon that they didn't have before. So arguably you could say that, are they selling out or are they just selling more tickets?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? I think in most bands, if they've had sort of like an underground start, if you want to call it that, or, you know, very humble roots, when they suddenly become mainstream, to like the mainstream people, wow, this is really cool, this is awesome. To the people who have followed them maybe before, fucking sell out. And it's like you can't win. You would never win.
But no. I mean, but also for Bring Me the Horizon, who knows, for their first recording they had 20 quid between them, and that was the recording, you know. And then now they've got the best engineers, the best producers, and everything else, and it's gonna sound.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say better. I want to sound like expensive, you know. And why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You know, and even them, like, they've got a few quid in the bin, so they're all probably getting better at producing and cleverer with the tricks they can do. I mean, and you got to think. I think even things like dubstep or something like that, that was around years before, or drum and bass, whatever. You know, that was around years before it went big. And if you drop one of those on in the middle of a fucking 2005 dance floor, people are gonna go, "What the fuck is that?" Right? But as soon as it's got good marketing, and then someone has a pop version of something, then Skrillex all of a sudden comes along, and now everyone's like, "Fucking dubstep," you know. So like, people are just fooling themselves, not, you know, what I call like the Radio 1 farm, you know, where it's like literally Radio 1 or whoever fucking laces the right palms could just put this new genre on, and by default, because it's on Radio 1 and your mate who listens to Radio 1 and your mate listens to Radio 1, so I'm going to listen to that as well. And I'm just going to start liking this genre now. You know, so that's happened a minute. I mean, you know, you've only got to go back a few years when it was all kind of Sex on Fires and things like that, and it was a very band time.
Yeah.
And then rolled past that, and now it's grime. You know, so like, and no one likes bands anymore. So it's just what people are kind of fed. But if you've always known what you like, then or actually not what you like or what you should give a chance, then you know, that's the way I've always been. You know, I've always said there's brilliant songs and shit songs in every single genre. You just got to find them.
Absolutely.
You know, even if like hip hop or whatever is not your thing, or metal's not your thing, and you're polar opposites, I bet you, if you looked hard enough, that you would find the song from each that you go, actually, that's the bollocks, or that's the bollocks. You know, like my wife doesn't like metal, but she loves System of a Down. You know, it's just I had to find the right thing, or like I wasn't huge on hip hop, and you know, until I found like Eminem or whatever. You know, so like it's just finding that thing that works for you.
It makes you laugh when people say, "Oh, I hate heavy metal music. It's all that rah 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 rah," and you think, where do we even start? It's like, no, there is a vast sort of cascade of different metal styles that you've never even heard of. It's the same with all genres, isn't it? It's just, if you can dismiss a genre straight away, you obviously haven't heard enough.
Yeah, I think also that with metal in particular, like if I've got something on and Lid's like, "What's that? Turn that off," or whatever. Like, it just sounds like a load of noise, and I'm like, fucking hell. Right, because that noise, believe it or not, is fucking hard to do. Like like the technicality with all the guitar licks, and like especially if it's something fucking ridiculous, like I don't know what's that Chinese band? What are they called? Fucking Dragon Force. Like, stuff like that. Even though it's like insane, like you to play that shit. Like obviously recording it for one that time, but like playing it live as well, like and like I tell you what, we have an argument now and again, and my voice hurts after having a shout or whatever. You try doing that singing, like that kind of style singing for like a 2-hour set, and keep going, and like you know, like even just and like drumming at that speed. I think people overlook metal as a bit of white noise over actually probably arguably the most skilled genre of musicians that exists.
Well, that's the thing, to play some of these genres and to be a good band in there, you have to be at the top of your game. You can't be like, for example, like if you're playing prog, you can't go in there just knowing a pentatonic scale and being able to play a couple of chords. Does not work. You've got to be anywhere decent. You've got to really know your onions, so to speak. And it's,
I think the other problem is as well that there's like, if I'm talking about a live situation, you know, if you hear a bad any style band, you know, that can put you off that giving it a chance, you know, to wait for the good one to turn up. But the sad thing about metal is for the populace, I guess, is the minute you hear that scream or whatever, or that big and it's not for you, then you're just not going to give the next song a chance. You know, just like if you put the radio on, "I really, 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 really love you," let's turn it off. Like it's gone, isn't it? Like, who's to say her next hit might not be amazing? But you know, it's too fucking late. You sung that one. You know, so we're all guilty of it in a way, just on the other side of the spectrum. But I wish people would just be more open-minded. But you know, while there's fellas looking for girls on a dance floor, they're just going to do what they're told and listen to what they're told, aren't they?
This is very true. Right, I've had a couple of questions. James Jansen said, "I like it when a writer gets self-indulgent. It's where the good stuff comes from," and he's never found a garage track he likes.
Well, okay, so that sounds like a challenge, doesn't it?
Gauntlet thrown.
Now that's a tricky subject as well, because again, the garage that most people associate with garage is like your DJ, like an MC Neats and all that sort of the ones that got the biggest. But you know, essentially it is a movement. I mean, if you go right back to things like Goldie and stuff like that, I think they were the real pioneers of garage. And don't get me wrong, I'm not really blown away by garage, but for me, what grabbed me was more of the I guess like the poppier side of garage, like things like your Daniel Bedingfields and like I gotta get through this, like that sort of stuff. I preferred all that over the like libby libby dibby dibby dibbies and all that.
Yeah.
Like, but that was just my preference. But again, I think maybe it's just finding the one that works for you. Because unfortunately, with garage, just like in metal, obviously, if you listen to metal by default, you smell and you don't wash. Just like garage, you are a Burberry escort driving chap. You know, like, you've got to get past those mindsets, I think. And like obviously, the first thing you switch on a garage station is someone going like yeah, all that stuff. Obviously, it's hard to like if that does your head in.
Yeah.
Then obviously you got to find the other stuff. Whereas again, so James Jansen, I don't have the answer of a track I could suggest you, but I guess just keep giving it a chance. But you know, if you're not desperate to find it, I guess it might not come your way. But what I would suggest is if you have friends or people on Facebook that are putting out new music and maybe garage is their thing, then just give them a listen because their track might be the one that turns you.
My TL from America said, a friend who worked for a major record company once told me that they only make money from about 13% of their records, but the money is so grand for them that's a success. With the internet, can a musician do better without them? Interesting question.
Okay. So major companies, it's all changed. I sort of scratched on it earlier. So back in like the Oasis days or even earlier, whatever, the main revenue was radio, obviously, and obviously your records themselves from the shop, and off the back of that, obviously all your touring and the merch and all those things. They were the revenue streams. And you got to think about it, even back to the R price days, whatever. If you want to buy a single, it was
blimey.
like two. If you want to buy a tape, it's $2.99. If you want the album, it's a tenner. You know, that sort of stuff. And most of the chunk went to the label / band, you know, and obviously divvied out among the writers or whoever X, Y, and Z on it.
And your royalty percentage and all that as well.
And your touring fees were probably about the same as they are now, but obviously you had your merchandise, which was huge and stuff then as well. So the money made on just the records, like the physical thing, was so much more money. So if Missing Annie could have got signed 20 years ago, we'd be fucking laughing.
Yeah.
But now, obviously, because you don't make, say, on that $2.99 tape from the single, you don't get the £1.50 from it. You get point something pence from a 69p download, which you then are sharing with your label or the rest of your writers and stuff like that. So it's fucking pence. That's why touring and all that stuff is, people just go on tour forever, don't they? Because they got to get their money's worth. But radio's still quite a big revenue. I mean, I don't know the figures off the top of my head, but I know for a Radio 1 play, whatever time of day, I think it's about £5 something a spin.
Oh, okay.
That's just Radio 1. So Radio 2, I think it's like 4, whatever. And but even like Radio Norfolk somewhere or whatever, you know, I think it's still like a couple of quid a play. So if you're number one for weeks on end and you're played constantly throughout the day on every single station in that country and all the other stations in the world, fuck loads of money.
Yeah.
So if you're signed to a major deal, then obviously they've got the PR backing to get you played, and you know, obviously the track's got to do the talking a bit as well. But you know, they can get good revenue in from the radio. But as an independent artist like me, it's probably not in my benefit to get signed monetarily, because if I'm not going to get as much, like if it's a smaller label or whatever, or I'm getting less attention, you know, I'm obviously not going to be generating as much revenue, and the stuff that you can make a bit of money on with the gigs, obviously it's going to be less of a cut for you as well. But I would say, if you the dream is to obviously make enough noise yourself to then have a desirable deal with a label, and then obviously all the revenue comes off the back. But it's catch-22, because you need, like, a lot of radio stations, just like the Missing Annie thing again, you know, they can be blocked out by the sun by something with a reputable. Oh, are we gone?
It's all right. You are back now. Sorry, go.
Okay, sorry, mate.
Backtrack about 7 seconds.
So yeah. Okay, so I was just saying, so the ideal world would be if you can obviously make some traction and get signed to a big label, and then obviously reap the benefits that way. But essentially, it's catch-22 because to get on all the major taste-making magazines and played by the good playlisters and stuff like that, unfortunately, all the labels, even some of the smaller labels, will lace those palms to get that done.
Yeah.
So it's very rare that Joe Bloggs out of nowhere is just going to get played on, this huge platform just for nothing. It's normally a major label that knows the people that can get you on that list. Or, I mean, even things like BBC introducing. I mean, Ollie does play, new stuff, but after that point, there's no guarantee that unsigned act is going to now get played on Radio 1. Don't get me wrong, it does happen, but if you are signed to a major label and I've got Bruno Mars's new single or Rob Jones's, right, I'm going to play Bruno Mars's one because he's Bruno Mars and you're not, so really long-winded way of asking. You can make 100% of nothing or make some percent of something if you were signed to a label. So if you're choosing the unsigned route and doing it yourself, obviously if you've got the money to put into PR, that's where you're going to get the traction. So that's like, radio plugins the biggest hole in the world because we've spent thousands in the past for radio plugin, and all they do is have a portfolio of songs on their client list, and they walk into Radio 1 or whatever station and they say, right, I've got these 10 singles here from these bands, and cool, we'll check them out. They might play them, they might not. More than likely they won't, because all the space for the show has been taken up by the major label people, and you just throw money away. So, but obviously if you don't do that, you're not going to get on any radio station. So it's a tough one. I think if you've got no money and you're unsigned.
Oh, we lost you again.
It's
all right. You're back again. It's all right. A little bit of a break up again.
No worries, mate. I was saying that if you're going to choose the unsigned route, you better hope that you're a really fucking good musician, because it's only that's going to sort of prick people's ears up. There's plenty of musicians that are sort of what I'd say average in their output or their quality or whatever, and that's just my opinion. But but they might have loads of money and they're paying to like get their songs on all these sort of local stations and like magazine reviews and stuff like that. And that's absolutely fine if you can do that. But I guess it's kind of dog eat dog world in the way of there's always someone else more hungry than you. So if you're having a day off, use it to do something proactive to your music and don't watch Netflix. I don't know, there was someone else who's working hard while you're not, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The sad reality is that, like, have you done covers bands before? Yeah,
plenty. So I'm in one at the moment. So I'm in Band Theft Audio. So we're like a corporate cover band.
So and the sad truth is, you probably earn more than that. You earn more doing that in your time than probably doing originals. Would you say?
Well, I mean, in this one example, no. I mean, like Missing Andy, we would get more of a fee. I think just because of the history we've got and the CV, if you like. But no, certainly back in my early days, doing a covers gig would be more desirable, if you like, on a general basis than giving people that ear to your original stuff. It's like, you can always rely on your family or a few mates that are going to listen to your shit, but ultimately, if you're playing your own music in a local pub, unless you're doing something so eye-catching and like that song is just so fucking good that it's quite rare that you're going to sort of get too many head turners, unless you are that fucking super talent and that's just, you just have that about you. But if people hear Mustang Sally, they're going to probably tap the foot quicker than your song, and that's just because they know it. That's all it is. So get. I mean, it's such a shit thing to say. Is just get yourself out there and all that stuff. So it's harder than that. But I think the first port of call is having good songs, and that doesn't mean what the world thinks are good songs. It's just how can that song that you've written be the best it can be. And being honest with yourself, perhaps that song isn't the best on. You know, there's been plenty of songs in the band where they've gone, that's fucking job. You know, we're not playing that one, and we're not just going to play that one because it's the only one the bass player's written. You know, it's good to have a level, but again, you know, if you believe in something and you really do think this is the best thing since sliced bread, then fucking go with it.
Because how far do you think? I'm just going to check that I've not got anything that's interfering with our stream. So I know you said your internet signals are a little bit ropey at the moment. Right. No, I think everything's as it should be. So for an artist going about it alone, how far feasibly could they get, for example, with... Like, for example, do you have to be signed to get on the streaming platforms?
The answer is no. You don't need to be signed, but you will not get onto some of them without being signed.
Right.
Like there are like paid for, funded tastemaker playlists that obviously get filtered music through the labels and stuff, or perhaps get a palm laced not to play certain things to make room for their thing. You know, it's quite a cutthroat thing that way. However, when you upload a song to Spotify, when you go to your Spotify for Artists tab, there is a playlist submission box where you can sort of self-submit it. So basically, like, you check a few boxes to what genres it fits in and stuff like that, a bit of information about the song and whatnot. And it gets put into like a pool where it might get fished out by people looking for new stuff. It's not happened to me yet. I think I've got 12 songs of my own now on Spotify, and I've not had one single bite on that. But what was the other question? The other part of the question?
So for example, that's the streaming element of it. Maybe you've got your own website. You can get your stuff put on iTunes, etc., etc. Show wise, and because as you said, sort of the money generally you can make probably from touring, from merchandise. How big a show could an unsigned artist get off their own back and popularity? Because there must be a limit.
Based on original music, it's tough, especially as a solo act. I mean, if you're in a band, like, usually a band is willing to do a few free ones at a venue just to get on the bill, or, you know, there's a lot of festivals that will say, right, well, you can have a slot, but there's no money, and obviously you just want to get your music in front of people. Obviously, it costs a little bit more to get a band together to do that. There's always that one guy that can't do it for, you know, because he needs 50 quid for the car, or, you know, blah, 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 getting the stuff there. But essentially, right at the beginning, like, you're an idiot if you don't do some free stuff, because essentially you just want to take every opportunity. Like, no one's going to turn around tomorrow and say, here's £500 to come and play at our local pub. It's not happening. So again, it comes down to how hungry are you. Like, it's other than taking that night off, it's free for you to do this, other than like your travel and stuff to get there. Obviously you've got to pay for travel, but you know, once you start getting paid for things, obviously that comes out of it. But it's how much you want it. I mean, like, what is a gig? Like, a gig, it can be busking, or a gig can be playing to like 10,000 people. So essentially, I'd start in your close area. So, like, for example, I live in Braintree, so if I was looking to do like a brand new solo venture, you know, I'm concentrating on, obviously I'm just putting it everywhere, but like, I'm talking, if I was a new artist, I'd want to get into the local pubs or whatever, or I'd go onto the streets and get my mates to sort of share my Spotify songs and all that sort of stuff, and just try and get me likes and followers up and things like that locally. And then once you do a few local free gigs or whatever, you know, in the Boar's Head Garden or something, and then, you know, if people are liking what they hear, then you know, that's the point where you're giving out cards and saying, get people to like my page and all that sort of stuff. And it's painstaking, it's horrible. Most of the time no one gives a fuck, and they're not going to hit you back, whatever. But it's only by just, you know, if you're not doing it, someone else is. And Ed Sheeran's a good example, where you know, what was he, fucking busking and playing all sorts of shit holes for years. And I recall him being on one of the Shakey's gigs in Chelmsford at the Basement or whatever, you know, and he was just probably getting 50 quid, you know, just even that, you know, and it was just like second on the bill to whatever band. And, you know, it's just getting out there and doing it. I mean, whether whether things happen overnight or quicker for you, it could well be that. But a really good good bit of advice is don't rush into the sexy side too quick, because if you start submitting material or videos or trying to get showcases with X, Y, and Z labels or whatever, and you're not ready, and when I mean not ready, like there's never a day to be ready, but if some stuff that I thought was the bollocks that I've done 10 years ago, and then I listen to it back and it's like, well, I could smash that now.
Yeah.
And that you've got to remember, that's the first listen, that's the first impression of you, and that don't go away. So if you are that kind of new acoustic guitar solo guy or whatever, and you haven't quite found your feet in it, or perhaps those 3 songs that you haven't written yet are going to be stronger than the ones you've got now, and you do find your letter does find its way into the right place to get invited to a showcase or that sort of shit, like, are you going there with the right stuff? So the only way you can find that out is having a load of material, getting down those local pubs and anywhere people are listening, and you'll soon know the songs that you sing better or the ones that people liked better or that sort of stuff. So it's you need to get some boots on ground, and then the next step will be just going and taking it to different towns and cities, sofa surfing or whatever, like something that might go down like a sack of shit in Braintree might be absolutely the bollocks in like Scotland or something. I mean, a great example of like Missing Andy's best fan base are all the northern towns, like all the northern cities and stuff, because obviously we've got a bit of a southern swag about us and whatnot. Yeah, a bit of cheers to our lovely all right geezer sort of stuff, and they fucking love it because it's not fucking way man, and it's like the polar opposite. So it just, when we go out there and we go, oh, everybody do whatever, it's just the thing, like, so maybe wherever you're playing needs to be where your market is and stuff like that. But then obviously you've got jam nights. They're fucking everywhere, and that's where people are listening, even if it is like fucking 10 people in there, a dog or whatever. At least they're there to hear the new music, and there's going to be some sort of fairly helpless people getting up there as well. So if, in a way, and this is the dog eat dog bit, is that if you can go in there and smash it, then all that's remembered is, oh fuck, that guy was wicked, wasn't he? And that's where you do, I don't know, I think you just got to do everything and anything. Like if you're at home playing computer or watching fucking telly, then you're not as interested or wanting it as much as you thought. Like if I had any spare time when I was young, I was in my bedroom writing songs or learning something or writing to venues, trying to get gigs, like whatever it was. There wasn't any time to waste. Nowadays, I'm a lazy git and I love to watch a bit of telly as well, but like, I've earned it.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're creeping up to that middle age kind of era where, we deserve our feet up and a glass of Horlicks.
But what is the other question is like, what is success? Like people just think you've got to have a fucking private jet and playing at fucking this and that venue. But success is if you're doing music, like if you've got, whether it's a cover band or original band or whatever it is, if you're actively doing it and you're getting a smile out of it, and you're getting a clap, and that'll surely bring on the hunger to want to get that more and to build on it. But that is success right there, just getting out the door and doing it.
Well, and if you can earn enough money from doing the thing you love, then surely that's a win, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, money does make the world go round. I don't agree with people who say it doesn't. It certainly makes it easier. But like you have to cut the dead wood away in a bit. Like, so if you are in a band and your drummer or whatever is
not
always
pulling their weight,
or it doesn't have to be necessarily musically skilled, but unfortunately a little bit of that. If they're not getting better, or someone's always dragging their feet, or that one guy's always not putting his hand in his pocket when everyone else is, or like cut it out, like just because it's only going to slow you down. Or just look after number one a bit and just fucking go to another band or whatever it is. But there is an element of that, and that again, we was quite lucky with that in Missing Andy, where there was quite a fierce competition to be the most proactive one. And when someone wasn't, like, obviously you got a bit of a ticking off about it, but you know, there was nothing more frustrating than writing a song all night, sending it into the guys, and then nah, that's shit, and then someone else's song, yeah, that's wicked, and all that made me do was go, right, let's try another one then, like, rather than sort of get defeated by it. And again, I say this a lot, you know, there's always someone, like, whether it's an act or a solo thing, whatever, there's always someone else more hungry than you that are gonna take all your opportunities or be doing what you're not doing if you don't. And whether that's getting your cover band off the ground or your fucking whatever, like, that is just, you know, you got to go get it. It's not going to come to you, man.
What is your opinion on the whole sort of YouTube, Twitch, live stream music side of things? Because you've got some people who are earning an absolute fortune from doing these kind of things. Do you think there's much of an avenue for, like, obviously you've got people going on playing covers and things and, you know, streaming every day for several hours. Do you think there is much of an avenue for an artist trying to create their own, you know, push their own music, push their own image through those live kind of stream elements? Or do you think it's a bit more geared to sort of a different side of music?
It's something that I'm not too experienced in, only that since the band slowed down a bit, it's not something we've really ventured into. So obviously we've got music videos, which is always a promo for the single, you know, and obviously if you can make a better video than the last one, or whether it's funny or just a better storyline or well shot or whatever, you know, people like to share a visual for sure. So I'm assuming with, like, I mean, I've never quite understood the watch people play computer games thing, like, because, like, I understand why they do it, because obviously they want to see if they don't own the game or whatever, they want to see it, you know, just like you'd watch the trailer for a game. I get all that, but just to watch someone, or unless, you know, there's a level you can't beat and you need to see how it's done or whatever. I don't understand just watching someone just play the game.
I think,
like, obviously it's a thing, but I've never quite understood it. So on a music side, like, if you, I'm assuming that you mean, like, it's a live stream of a gig, or is it more of a Q&A thing you're talking about?
It can be anything. I mean, it can be, say, for example, like doing what you do, where if you had, like, your YouTube channel and you made your own music videos and you're putting your songs out there in that format, then you might do, like, live gigs, you might do live Q&As, you might do acoustic sessions. And there's especially because one of the things that human beings do love is the interaction with artists. And especially if that artist sounds like they're taking notice. You know, they could have, like, thousands of messages going along, then they pick out one and say, oh, thanks, so-and-so, you know, that's blah, 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 blah. And that person's like, oh my God, they chose me. You know,
I blow hot and cold with it. I mean, the if you want to go, like, back in the day, like bands like bloody Queen or whatever, you know, like, they did it, like, the way, you know, obviously, like, made a noise, made a scene, bit of controversy or whatever, then got big, and, like, the only way you get to see them is on the news or at the gig, or in the paper, whatever, and that's your only access to them. Therefore, it makes you more fucking crazy about getting to that gig, or, oh my God, there's Freddie Mercury, whatever. So the kind of the stardom of it was the attraction, right? So I think what's good and bad now, like, I mean, the great thing about Spotify, YouTube, and all these sort of social mediums is that you can connect with your band or your artist or whatever more. So like, you don't have to just wait to get to the gig. You know, you can see what they're up to today, or in the studio, or what they had for breakfast or whatever, if that interests you. It's brilliant, but at the same time, like, I feel like it kind of doesn't ruin the charm, but, like, the mystery, you know, like, I think, like, if Michael Jackson was on Instagram and, like, back in his heydays and was, like, every day had a different post, I think the fact that you don't see Michael Jackson until he walks out on stage and he does the fucking, you know, and it's like, whoa, there he is, so where's he been? Whereas I think people are kind of diluted a bit more now, and, like, people are a bit, celebrity is the word I don't want to use, but I think people are more accustomed and not as bothered about like stars in the way that, oh my God, I've just seen Thingy walk past Tesco's or whatever, you know. It's kind of like, well, I've just seen him for like the last 8 Instagram posts all day. You know, I know exactly where he
sitting in
is.
his pants, just talking crap.
Yeah. So like, like the exclusivity of that gig ticket, I think, or just needing to be the one who gets the CD first. You know, I think that's kind of gone really, because like we're a lot more privileged with how much we can be involved in people's lives.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's not to say it's not a bad thing, because it's obviously given the smallest bands to the biggest bands a different way of sort of showing themselves and whatnot.
Yeah.
The bad side for me is, and again, going back to the Missing Annie stuff, like in the early days, it was kind of pre all that. It was when you had Snake 2 and stuff. So it was who's making the biggest noise. Oh my God, have you heard about this band we saw in Camden last week? Fucking hell, when are they back in Camden? You know, and the only way I can see this band is by coming to Camden or coming to somewhere else. I can't just check them out on Instagram and go, oh yeah, they're alcohol, aren't they? And just be done with it. Like I need to get, how do I get closer? Whereas like everyone can do that now, thus the water being so full, you know, like it's hard to keep your head above it when there's not only a sea of wicked bands to compete with, but obviously a load of shit as well. So like you're double drowning. The only people it really works for, and this is the monetary side, are the people that are already huge or have got huge because of something they've done, you know. So they're by deep, you know, so someone like Queen, for example, again, are going to have shitloads of followers already.
Yeah.
So they're gonna get the revenue streams that come with having those social media platforms big as well. The only other people that really smash it on Instagram are fucking, if you're doing OnlyFans and you're getting your tits out, you know, like, or no one's interested in hearing your new song, you know.
That's
when
where
there's
I make my money.
When there's exactly like, why don't we start our own OnlyFans, Mike? Like just only bands, and it's just bands getting their dicks out or whatever, and you can pay to see that, and obviously if you want, optional, listen to the music.
Yeah, just music hanging in the background, just a todger just swinging around in front of the camera. What's not to love?
But that's the sad state of it. But like, I mean, even that, like 20 years ago, if you wanted to be a high class model, you know, a well paid model, if that's your thing, then you either had to be a successful model or you did porn. You know, there's no like middle ground. Like now, like anyone with, you know, pretty face or whatever can just, like, you know, you look at your own account and your own band's account, and then you sort of scroll down the feed and you'll see like 3 million likes just for someone who's going like with an aubergine or something, and you think, well, this is it. This is what we live in now. So, you know,
we had to compete with something like that. We were streaming on a platform called Next Music, and the idea was really good. They created this little app where you could play sort of music orientated games, or you could watch live streams. And so they had like one stream after another. So it was quite a good idea. And me and Matt from Recovered were on there. So we're doing our thing, you know, joking about, playing tunes, etc., etc. The trouble is, all the clientele were young kids. So we felt a little bit peedy. But secondly, they're all like, oh, I really wish I had a boyfriend, really wish I had a girl. You know, they're all trying to hook up in this thing. Yeah. And then the stream after us was this 13-year-old girl holding a guitar going, I really like Spider-Man. And that was kind of and everyone was like, oh, you're amazing, we love you. And you're like, if this is the state of things to come, it's like it's kind of No Country for Old Men.
Yeah, it's, I don't understand it. Like as an art form, even if your song's not particularly good, like what you've done to obviously write it, record it, all those sorts of stuff, present it, put it online, all that stuff, just gets pushed to the wayside as soon as someone goes like tan lines or side boob or something like that. And you know, I'm a bloke. I'm not saying no one wants to see that, but like it's just that access to those platforms wasn't there for anybody like 10, 20 years ago, you know. So to get in whatever career you wanted to get to, it was very much on your own merit or the noise you made. And I think that's such a shame now, because like, even though obviously you still want people to get into venues and stuff, people aren't going to be as bothered or excited to get to a show if they can get what they need to see or hear online.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, seeing the thing live is always better, but if it was the only way you could see it, then I think there'd be more people in venues.
Yeah. Yeah,
Rather than just
I would agree with that.
just rather than, or even if it was just, if music was more expensive because it was still in the shops and not just accessible as so much on Spotify and that, I think people would respect people's music a bit more, and I think the money they'd spend would be a bit more thought about on what they're buying as well.
I think there is a thing though, even though we are absolutely saturated beyond belief when it comes to the amount of choice and everything we have, I think we still inherently stick to our favourites. So I think we have got that thing that even though we're completely spoilt for choice, we will still revert back to like those specific bands we love and things that I think it still can work. But I think, like you said, actually, maybe it is a combination of not, if you're going to put yourself out there, not putting too much of yourself out there, leaving that element of mystery, like you say, because the people who do it kind of a bit more classily and leave a bit more to the imagination. It's kind of like making love to a beautiful woman. It's a
Swiss Tony. Yes,
yeah, exactly. But it's that idea, like, for example, if a woman is like if she's a model and she's doing it in a classy way that leaves things to the imagination, as soon as she reveals everything, it's gone. It's done.
Don't need to follow her anymore. Yeah.
No, exactly. But if you always keep, and again, it's always keep your audience hungry, isn't it? And
I mean, I'm a little bit crap with the social side, as in, like, one side of me wants to keep every post like arguably a really cool or interesting or whatever post, but to be fair, then the next picture is a picture of me dog or me going or something like that, you know. So like it's a real like hard balance, but again, I'm not trying to like fit the mold, if you know what I mean. I'm just sort of, it's there for me to do whatever I want with, but I think, and again, that's just as an older guy as well. I think if I knew what I knew now, and I could go back to being 20 years old and sort of properly market myself with more of a shot, if you like, with youth on my side to get to places, then I think I'd have a bit more of a serious approach about which way to do it. But you know, a lot of people crack it through covers, and I think that's why they're shutting down this whole you're allowed to do covers thing on YouTube, on Facebook and stuff, because a lot of artists will sing covers on YouTube and do their own version, and obviously like they might smash it. And I think that even things like Justin Bieber, I think that's how he got like picked up by doing covers and shit as a kid. But and obviously because it's a cover, people are searching that song title and they probably just happen upon your own version of it and stuff like that. But I think we had this chat, me and you actually, on the comments a little while back when Facebook have changing this streaming thing.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm not sure you're allowed. Are you allowed to do a cover now? And like, you're not allowed to monetize it, obviously, but surely that's how your YouTube works. I don't know.
I think from, like, for example, when we're streaming, there'll be certain songs that will crop up and it will say your video has been blocked, and it's been a particular song where it says this video cannot be viewed or monetized. Most of the internet trouble all over today. Yeah, tell us about it, mate. So for example, like if we play 10 songs, 9 of those will say cannot be monetized, 1 of them will say cannot be shown. So therefore you have to clip that piece out. I think...
How does that work with a band playing a cover though? Because it's obviously the audio isn't going to be as record, so it's not going to get flagged up.
It's weird. It still picks up certain melodies. So
does it?
Yeah, the algorithms have actually got a lot more smart, which is really difficult. But
but what if you're playing it in a different key or like those sorts of things? Surely it's not going to.
We've tried that.
Well, because it's not, unless it's like to click to the exact speed of the song. You know, how are they going to sort of, you know, because if your melody's slightly slower because you're playing it free, you know, those sorts of things.
It is weird how the technology is getting scary for what it can recognise. But I think it's more to do with, say, DJs, as we were talking, DJs playing basically entire sets of other people's music and sort of then selling merch and selling their stuff and getting money off the back of that. I think if you're actually just playing covers of something, I don't think it's as targeted.
Because the issue we had on the Toast Train was well, obviously it's a chat show, whatever, like this, but like every 15 minutes we're playing someone's unsigned band or whatever, or some signed as well, but just playing their music video as like a break. Now we have permission from those acts because they've sent it to us to put it on the show. But obviously, because their stuff is on Spotify and everywhere else, obviously it's picked up by Facebook as, hang on, what's this? This is, you know, then obviously it's muted. So then you have to go through a dispute. And when you say, this is mine, you know, the only options are, is this your material or not? You know, that's the yes or no button, basically.
Yeah.
So you kind of click yes just to get the ban lifted. And then, like, we've had it before where they've gone, oh, no, it's not you because you're not Dave and the Do Bangers or whatever they're called.
Do Bangers.
Yeah, so like we've had to jump through a few hoops to get, you know, every show. There's like stuff that some of it gets lifted in the end, some of it stays muted. But that's a sort of really great area because you have the permission. You know, if you had AC/DC's permission to do this cover, and they're going to flag it, you know, so how do you? That's the grey area for me. I don't know how we get around that.
Cannot touch at all. I've known this from. There's a good way that you can kind of test the water to see if you can get away with it. If people have done lyric versions and re-uploaded them, so you know when people just put some lyrics up and
on YouTube.
Yeah, that is kind of my testing the water.
But who gets that? Because that profile that put that video up, that's going to get shitloads of hits because it's the AC/DC lyric video of that song, and I want to know the karaoke words or whatever. So who's getting those hits? Like, obviously that page is getting the hits, but are AC/DC missing out on that?
No, they would still be getting the revenue because obviously the video cannot be monetized, and it will automatically bring up in YouTube the artist, who it is, the song title, and everything. It's automatically generated. Because
that's been done to quite a lot of Missing Andy videos where people have made like their own thing, and I did wonder that, just like where does that go?
Yeah, no, you'll be okay in that sense. So I think you've just got to. I know with AC/DC they are really tight, and like I did a vocal analysis of Brian Johnson, and I uploaded it, got banned straight away because it was using like Back in Black or something in it.
Ever since they've been on Avengers, isn't it? Like they're just. They've just gone too big. But like, what's the other example? That's right. I did a drum cover a few weeks ago. So I'm drumming along to the record. Yeah. So obviously you can hear the record, and I'm drumming over it. And that got I did two. So one was a Green Day song, but not one of the big ones.
Yeah.
Can't remember what track it was even. That's how small it was. And the other one was Propane Nightmares by Pendulum.
Great tune.
So the Green Day one, uploaded it, and I'm talking a phone video.
Yeah.
I've mic'd up the drums, so I've just put the phone clip in the software, and I've just taken the recorded drums and put it next to it. You know, so it's not a phone audio.
Yeah.
So it's phone video, recorded drums with the original track. So the Green Day one didn't get flagged at all. And I've just uploaded it to my own Facebook, not even like YouTube or anything, just my own Facebook, not my page, like my human page.
Right.
And it got got seen, it got like, yeah, that's cool, that sort of stuff. And so I thought, great. So I fancy doing another one of them. So I did one for Propane Nightmares. And the minute it went up, bosh, like flagged, this is blah, blah, blah. And literally I go, 1, 2, 3, 4, silence. just be air drumming. And so I hit the sort of contest it button, and I said in the description, but this is a cover, like I see covers all the time.
Yeah,
people singing fucking karaoke or whatever, all the time. What's the difference? And they never got back to me on it. Like, this is still blocked now. So I don't understand that. So if you're, for example, trying to show your drumming skills for that song because that cover band wants you to do that song or something, I don't know what scenarios it could be. How do you get around that? Like, what's the problem with that? Because surely Pendulum want you to be covering their songs so people go, oh, what's that song?
It's weird. I think it all probably depends on the record company. It depends how heavy they are with copyright, all those kind of things. I think every band is going to be different. What you can do is, for example, you could download like a backing track. Like you can get there's a really good site called a karaoke version.
Yeah, I'll use that. You can strip out the. I use that for a lot of the click tracks stuff that we do.
So they've obviously got permission to do a karaoke version of that track, but
sonically though, it will be different to the original, like because it's not the exact parts. It's in like the sound waves.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Say that, but then it's still, even when we do our streams and we're using those tracks, or like for for example, Simon has redone a track completely by himself, it will still pick up and register that this track is so and so. Like this is Pendulum, Propane Nightmares.
I wonder if it picks up the tempos then, because like if a tempo and there's a certain kick and hat pattern and snares hitting the same spot every time, do you think there's a way of it knowing? I mean, there's a million songs that probably have the same pattern, but I'm talking about all the ingredients. The bass line hitting that frequency over that kick pattern, and it must get quite detailed like that for them to really know, especially for a remade track, because obviously no audio will ever be the same as the original.
No,
do you know what I mean?
It's really odd. Like we did a version, like we played Fire Woman by The Cult, and they picked it up as us playing a live version of a certain album, which was really, really odd. Or I've tried playing Whitesnake, a drum cover, a whole tone down, to try and get away from that, and it still picked it up. So they must have a combination of different kind of tuning algorithms. I think they go by melody lines, things like that. Certain, because anything like Antera's auto tune and everything, you can just shift entire songs up and down, whatever. So they must have all these different algorithms running at once that can pick this stuff up. So it's really hard. The only way I think you can get away with it is doing like a real basic acoustic cover of something for it not to register.
It's just strange, like especially when for past it songs that aren't in the limelight or the PR curve anymore. If people are covering a song and the audio's in there for no money, not monetizing the video or nothing, what harm does it do that label or that act that potentially new people are, or people that know it and they're rehearing it, that must buy that record, I don't see the issue. Like I said, if people like DJs are selling their T-shirt at the end of it, and what a great set that was, and using someone else's material for their gain, I get that. But and maybe there's a gain of, well, people now know you're a good drummer because of our song. Fuck you. I don't know. Is it that?
I can't imagine. I mean, as you say, what is the harm apart from if it catches somebody's ear and then they go and check out the original by the artist? Surely that's a humbling benefit to that artist, isn't it?
Yeah, but is that the label saying, well, we're not making money of it, so fuck you, basically?
Probably, even if the person who's covering it isn't making money. Like, well, they're getting exposure, they're getting likes, they're getting subscriptions from this.
So arguably, that is still using their material, isn't it, for a gain of some sort?
I mean, it's a pretty petty thing on the grand scheme of things, but it would be interesting.
I wonder if it picks up like tracks that have been like reversed or like stretched.
You should try it. You should do maybe do a little YouTube video in your studio.
Do the halftime drum cover of Pendulum. Yeah. Double time. That's it. Fucking hell. Have you still got your drum kit with your two bass drums, like your hex? Was it your Pentagon?
Oh bloody hell!
Do you remember them? Last time I saw you play them was at the venue. Do you remember the venue?
God. Yeah, no, I got rid of that kit, but I got instead. I did get another double bass kit, and I put two kits together so that it's mirrored, so you can play it both ways around. It's just really stupid.
Yeah, well, you've seen mine, and I've gone a bit OTT with it, but it's because I teach as well. Like when the younger ones come in and they see just like fucking 80 toms and cymbals everywhere, it's like whoa, Plus,
whoever said
secretly, I think it's fun as well.
Well, whoever said less is more is just lying. It's so much more fun when you've got more stuff to hit.
Well, when was the last time you played? Like, I mean, I guess you still play, but like you haven't played in a band or anything for a while, have you?
God, I've lost track now. I do the occasional. The problem is I don't play enough, so I do the occasional covers gig, and I sit down and I just feel like I'm sitting at a completely alien instrument again.
Really?
So yeah, I need to play more.
When did you transition to frontman mic from drums mic?
Probably about 2000 and good question. It was when I joined Recovered. I'd been playing drums for ages, and I met Matt Speedy working at Peach in Blake End, and they said they needed a singer, so I thought, well, I'll give it a shot and see what happens.
So you knew you could sing, but you hadn't sung in anything. that right?
Yeah, I'd done backing vocals. That was kind of the furthest I'd ventured. But it must have been about 2008, 2009, maybe something like that. Maybe a little bit earlier. But yeah, it's just one of those. Well, you know what it's like when you, especially being a multi-instrumentalist like yourself, you end up sort of maybe going in a direction you didn't plan on because there's more work doing that thing.
Sure.
So,
yeah, I can understand.
Yeah, drummer at heart.
Yeah, but like I said, I got kind of forced into learning other things because no one could do that job, or there wasn't anyone that.
Yeah,
was,
exactly.
Yeah, so it's like, well, there's two of us that could do this. I'll do that then, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the amount of
of
bass work I got, I just decided I'd try playing a bit of bass. And then I started just getting loads and loads of bass steps. I'm not particularly great. I can hold my own, but I'm not.
But that's the thing about bass, isn't it? Like, the stereotype is kind of true where everyone wants to be a guitarist when it comes to a wooden stringed instrument, or a drummer or something else. So, like, obviously there's guitarists everywhere, whether they're good or bad, and kind of like a secondary option. I feel a lot of bassists perhaps started playing bass because the guitarist they knew was better than them on guitars, thus getting the job, or everyone wanted to be a guitarist, thus there were no bass players, so that someone's had to just fucking play bass. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And the minute there's a good bass player, they're gone. They're in a band. Like, they're snapped up.
Well, that's the thing. You can tell the difference, can't you? You can tell someone who is a bass player, and you can tell someone who is they're just playing it because it's another option, which is kind of what I am. I'm not a bass player, and I don't think I could be because it's far too boring.
Yeah, but same boat, mate. I mean, obviously, I'm bassist in Missing Annie, but it's certainly not my first instrument.
No.
And I mean, I love it. I love doing it, but there are fucking way better players. I mean, my sort of skill set, and I think you're the same, is my ear. So, like, if someone says, like, just starts playing a song, immediately I can play it. That kind of thing, Like I don't need to write the chords. I just, if someone shouts a song request out, I just kind of weirdly, if I've heard the song, I can play the song. And
you can speak the language, can't you? And you can just kind of follow where the flow goes. Just your fingers sort of automatically go. It's going to be this chord, then this chord, then you're going to have this rundown. It's going to go to this, and it's going to kind of. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, I think people still find that quite surprising. Like, even just silly things like when I have like a house party or something like that, and we're sitting around the piano, and like I'm just going, right, any requests, whatever. And even if it goes tits up, like the fact that you've just kind of gone like and sort of fuzzed it in. How do you know that? Do you know? I was like, I've never played it before. It just sort of happens. But I love that sort of. I love that kind of. That's why I started doing the duo with Alex as well. So when Missing Andy were like between gigs and stuff like that, like, obviously for the very busy part of our lives, we were playing the same set or very rarely added new ones in, and if we did write new ones, so like it was so relieving to not do Missing Andy songs, and so Alex and I started fucking around and doing a duo, and quite quickly that got quite popular, because obviously we throw a few Missing Andy ones in there, but it's very much a request show. We got a few songs that are in the set, loose set if you like, but most of the time it was like, right, what do you want? And then someone will shout fucking whatever from the background, and we were like, all right, I think it's an E, right, here we go. And the beauty about what we do is we give no fucks about how wrong it goes. Other people would crumble under the whereas like if it goes wrong, that's even better. We're like, and then you feel like as one with like the audience, and it's not like a watch us show. It's like,
watch us fuck up show.
Let's all just be in it together and have a laugh. Like, we'll do 30 seconds and that's like, oh, that's fucking terrible. Right, next, that sort of thing. And I really thrive on that sort of is it challenge? Like that kind of.
It's keeping you on the edge. It's the same.
What you are as a musician, like what you do, like rather than the kind of rehearsed you, like the kind of, ooh, caught me by surprise you.
Keeps you on your toes.
I enjoy that.
It?
Yeah,
but it's exactly the same with. I mean, one of the things that has been good about this lockdown is me getting the time to do the streaming and stuff, and I absolutely adore it. Because again, it's exactly like you're saying. It's the spontaneity. It's the not giving a fuck. If you screw up, you're flying by the seat of your pants all the time, and there's a certain thrill of that, isn't there? and just being able to someone go, yeah, do you know this song? No. But let's see what happens anyway.
1, 2, 3,
and off we go. I completely understand.
But you got to be in the right. You got to be the right person for that though, because there's a lot of people that are too. And this is a good bit of advice actually, just whether it's your own music or not. Like, there's a lot of people that are too worried about embarrassment or feeling like they look stupid or like. Do you know what I mean? I think if the minute you think that, the minute something goes wrong, you crumbled, mate. You're dead. And like I've always had the attitude of, I mean, I always want to be good, if you know what I mean.
You don't want to let your audience down.
No one wants to bomb.
Yeah.
But like, you got to go in with the who gives a fuck attitude, and and embrace the mistakes. Like I think it's funnier to piss yourself laughing at a mistake than try and cover one up badly and like start going red and that sort of stuff, and then people are going like, whereas if you just sort of go, hey, down a pint and fucking start again, that sort of thing. And I don't know, there's ways to sort of.
No, I
I find that
agree.
more connective than just. I'd rather see that than some sort of perfect gig by some perfect duo at a restaurant. I'd rather someone like us came here and fucking stole someone's chips off their plate and they went, right, let's fucking do it, right? That sort of thing.
Well, that's the difference between, that's also partly being a musician, but also being an entertainer. And I think there's that's kind of one of the key things, that it's engaging with people. Like, say you can go to a jazz club and watch the most incredible jazz musician stand there and play some phenomenal musicianship, or are you going to come out of there and go, that was the fucking nuts, that was so much fun, we had a really good night, we really felt like we were part of the show? No, but you could go and watch someone like Chaz and Dave. Like,
sure. I mean, obviously there's a market for that for people.
Course. But everyone's got each to their own.
I think when it comes to, I don't know. I guess they're two different areas. Like the me and Alex thing is fun, and it's meant to be an escape from the more regimented band approach. So it's nice that I've got all the pies. I guess I've got the cover stuff, original stuff, and the fun stuff. As well as all the other things. But
I think it works really well, especially with, like there's certain crowds that will work really well with, like English people love a sense of humour, and a really good example of that is at Bloodstock there was a band, Evil Scarecrow they were called. Now they are a complete piss take band. They are absolutely hilarious, and they would get on the main stage at Bloodstock and they would have, they're a bunch of young lads and a female keyboardist, all the stupid makeup. They're just so much fun live. Yeah. And other bands fucking hate them because they go on stage being all the, we're doing it all properly. We've got that kind of bit of a pretentious edge. But these guys can just go on and have a laugh and completely take control of the audience.
Well, again, it's about... like obviously with Bloodstock or something like that, obviously half the acts are probably what I'd say like the real deal, if you like. And I guess the Puritans maybe think that, well, are you here taking the piss out of us? But then you could say the same thing about, like, I don't know, Steel Panther or something like that. Yeah. That is, I mean, they do that genre so well, but are they taking the piss out of it, or are they just loving it so much but just putting the comedy in there? And
all of the above.
I'm personally pro Steel Panther, but like I can imagine that, like, if you were in, say, Motley Crue or something like that, are they making fun of our shit or not? I don't know, but I don't see it that way myself. Like, I think it's cool. If anything, it's just reminding people of those bands. But,
yeah, absolutely. It's a cheeky tribute, isn't it?
Yeah. But like, he's got, I tell you about all the 80s acts that are still going. Fucking hell, he's got the best voice. Like, I mean, like,
Steel Panther guy.
Yeah, Michael Starr, whatever his name is. I mean, I watched a Motley Crue concert last night actually, and Vince Neil, fuck, he's not even using any syllables. He's just going here, 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 and like he's like and like, I mean, Mick Mars and all the rest of us, they've still fucking got it. But like, you think fuck, and then obviously someone like Steel Panther, they're just fucking killing it. Obviously, they've still got a bit of youth on their side, haven't they?
Yeah.
But
No.
Mike, listen, I've looked at the time, and I need to shoot off, my friend. But
No.
I've had such a good time here, and thank you so much for having me on. I mean, I love
Do you need a
getting
piss
to
as
talk
well?
about this sort of stuff. I do need a piss, but
Mate, I am dying for a piss.
it's pretty rare that, to be honest, that I actually get to have a proper music chat. I mean, obviously, lovely wife, but she's not a musically minded person, so you don't get to talk too much with her about it. And a lot of your mates are sort of done talking about Missing Andy shit. And yeah, it's been nice to sort of have a good old chin wag about it again, mate.
No, absolutely, mate. Really good to see you. And you can tell when I need a piss because I start doing that in my chair.
So should we have a piss break together and call it a night then?
I reckon so. Very quickly, regarding what we were saying about music getting blocked, T.L. James said, in a test on YouTube, I titled it a song, Eagles Cover. The music was just shit I made up and it got blocked.
Wow.
That's interesting.
What if your song was called Eagles Cover? Like, as in, like, cover from the Eagles, you know, that sort of...
That's a very good point.
I went to the Eagles cover. Like some sort of pagan music, I don't know. But, like, yeah that's interesting.
All right, mate.
Wow.
Excellent. Cheers for coming on tonight.
I've got to do the plug, you know. So
go. Plug away.
Very, very simple. If you're still here and interested in anything I've had to say, then any platform at Rob Jones TV. All my solo shit, varying genres, is on Spotify as Rob Jones TV. There's some new Missing Andy material coming out this year as well. There's a little teaser actually on the Missing Andy Facebook page of that. But yeah, it should hopefully be out this year, COVID depending and all that stuff. But no, thank you so much. And if anyone ever needs some studio time, Manor Studio Essex, I'm sitting in it right now, or just any love needed, then hit me up, Rob Jones TV. And thank you so much, Mike, for having me on.
Pleasure, mate. Great to see you. And enjoy your piss.
Will do, mate.
All right, bud. You take care.
Take care, buddy.
See you soon.